Next thing I want to talk about is Matterport. I'm going to rewind a little bit to a few slides ago. So it's a service that you can get through Spotlight. Matterport, I'm sure most of you have seen it by now. It's this really cool 3D mapping technology that's out there in the marketplace. It's steadily been getting a lot of traction. We probably do, I want to say it's increased maybe 5 to 10-fold in terms of the number of Matterports we've been booking personally since all the COVID stuff started too. And again, for obvious reasons, right? Because it's a little bit harder to take people through homes. So having this extra advantage of being able to show them virtually gives you a lot more exposure and reduces any sort of issues with the COVID side of things and restrictions. So there are some developments in the space that link it to Brokerbay really well. And I'll get into those in a second, but maybe, I'm just going to jump in. I think I've got one up here that has a Matterport tour just to show you a little bit about what it looks like in the off chance you haven't had a chance to take a look at one. This is one of the live listings. So the neat thing about Matterport is you can just kind of go around, you can check out the home. It's basically like walking through it. And like, again, I've said before, I'm sure everyone's seen these by now if you're in the industry. So there's no need to go over it in crazy detail, but it's a really cool technology. And one of the neat advantages of this is that Brokerbay and Matterport have gotten together and created this thing where you can do these virtual showings of your listings using Matterport. Now, this is a harder thing to explain. I'm going to try and explain it. And then I'm going to show you a video which kind of goes over one that's actually happening so you can kind of get an example of it. So a virtual showing, it's becoming a lot more commonplace and it's starting to get a lot of steam in the industry. And I don't see this kind of thing often, but this seemingly simple new feature, I really do think it does have that potential to shake up the way showings are conducted down the road. So what's a virtual showing? Okay, let's see if I can do my best to explain here. So Matterport tours, they're great. But they're missing this one really key feature. That's the agent can't walk through the home with the buyer client, giving them advice along the way. A buyer client can look at a listing with a Matterport tour, get a feel for the listing by themselves, right? But a Matterport tour is typically a very individual experience unless you've got your agent over your shoulder. So what Brokerbay's new integration does now is going to allow buyer agents to book showings for your listing virtually and take their clients through the home in a virtual setting. So just to be clear, this isn't for the listing agent. The listing agent is the one who does the Matterport, but the buyer agents are the one who set up these virtual showings. The way that these are set up is just like any other showing. They'd come into go onto MLS. Here, actually, maybe I'll show you the video. So here's just a sample. Obviously, I'm so sure you've all seen this before. Strass, you've got the online appointment section. You click on that, you go into Brokerbay. You'd set up a showing, but instead of just having this in-person showing online set up, there's also a 3D virtual showing tab. And if someone sets that up, it'll do the exact same thing as a regular showing. It'll ask what time and everything, and it'll confirm with the agent. And then what the great thing is that it'll actually create this kind of conference link. That link you give to your client, and you can create this Matterport tour, which will have you, the agent, and your client both being able to control the Matterport tour at the same time and walk through it together. So you get that kind of commentary with your client as you go through it. One of the other neat things about it too, let's skip ahead a little bit further in the video here, is that you can actually flip back and forth between multiple houses that, well, I can't find the specific bit, but let's say you've booked multiple virtual showings in the same day. You can flip back and forth really easily and seamlessly between different houses. So there's got a big advantage there, obviously, because let's say you went to one listing, you did the showing there, you went to another listing, did the showing there, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to look at this one thing in the other listing. Here it is showing up on the screen now. You can flip back and forth between those, go back and forth, compare things. You can put them side by side almost. It makes it really easy to move back and forth between homes without having to drive across town, right? To do that. It saves a lot of time for everybody too. Everyone can do this in the comfort of their own home. And actually, just a little bit of another story. The goalie of my hockey team, this was back in the spring. He actually sold his house without a single person stepping in to his house. And this was at the height of the first COVID lockdown, so things might have been a bit different back then. But this is the kind of thing that will make that process a little bit easier happen. I'm not saying that this should supplant or replace in-person showings, but it definitely makes it a lot easier to shortlist homes, right? So you don't have to do as nearly as many in-person showings. Now, the great advantage here is if you can show your client in a listing presentation, okay, we're going to set up these opportunity for virtual showings as well. It also takes less inconvenience on the client as well, especially if they're living in the home. But in that listing presentation, you show them this. It's an impressive thing to show, and it'll help boost your listing presentation as well. So to set this up, you just have to do a Matterport tour. That's all you have to do. And then we'll send you the Matterport link and you just put it into your Brokerbay backend. I'm sure front desk manager, we can even help you with that too if you need help getting that loaded in so you can take advantage of these virtual showings.